Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. To be completely honest, I thought all the big Kaldheim spoilers were done for the day, but was I dead wrong, and I'm happy I was. Now, earlier in the day, we had some awesome other spoilers from Kaldheim like Kaldheim, which I called the legendary tribal god, and you're just gonna see how ironic that statement is coming up here in a bit. Anyways, if you haven't seen that episode, make sure you go check it out because it's the very first commander that is also a mana rock. And of course, if you haven't seen the episode on Reflections of Lit Jar, the new tribal staple, make sure you check that out too. And also make sure you check out Goldspan Dragon, an absolutely broken mythic that loves treasures. But the spoiler for this episode might just be the biggest spoiler that we've seen so far. And of course, I want to say a spoiler warning before we start. If you're not looking for spoilers, you're in the wrong spot. You shouldn't be watching this episode because I'm going to be talking about the spoilers. So let's jump into it. And perhaps the biggest spoiler from Kaldheim so far is Esika God of the Tree / the Prismatic Bridge. That's right, a 5-color MDFC creature god enchantment commander. And again, MDFC means Molded Dual Face card, which basically means you can cast either side. So let's jump into what each of these sides do and then talk about what kind of a deck you might want to build around this. Esika God of the Tree is a 1/4 god with vigilance that costs 1 green. She has tap, add 1 mana of any color, and other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and tap, add 1 mana of any color. And the other side is technically the first enchantment that you can have in your command zone with the Prismatic Bridge. Okay, to clarify, not including the enchantment creatures from Theros, this is strictly an enchantment. Regardless, back to the bridge. It's a legendary enchantment that costs Wooburg, that's 1 of each color, and says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest and bottom of your library in a random order. So yeah, you can see how I was blown away when I saw this card. So, you know how in a previous episode I may have said that, that was the legendary tribal god? Well, Esika kind of proved me wrong, and yeah. Esika not only ramps you and fixes your mana, she also lets your other legendary creatures help out as well, and she gives them vigilance. And because the Prismatic Bridge side, the color identity of this card is 5 colors, so you've got access to every single card in Magic, including every single legendary creature. Well, except for the banned ones, but you know what I mean. And Legendary Tribal can be an especially powerful thing with this commander, especially because of that Prismatic Bridge side, which can get you powerful legendary creatures off the top of your library for free. It's only day 2 of the official Kaldheim spoiler season, and I'm probably calling this far too early, but I think that this is going to be the most popular commander out of the entire set by far. And we definitely haven't seen anywhere near all the legendary creatures in this set yet. It just feels like one that's going to be very, 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 very popular. But in the future, be sure to let me know just how wrong I was, if I am. Anyways, let's start off by talking about some somewhat similar commanders to this one. Again, since MDFC commanders are a brand new thing, there aren't really any direct comparisons, but there are some that we can still compare to. And actually, ironically, the first one that I want to compare this to is actually my last episode, which again was the Legendary Tribal God episode about Kaldheim. Kaldheim likes to have other legendary creatures in play, and she can help you get some off the top as well. But those go into your hand and not into play, but she does have the other side where she can basically be a mana rock for creatures of a certain type or legendary creatures. Now the biggest difference between these two commanders might just be that one is 5 colors and one is mono green. Again, Esika has access to every single legendary creature, and Kaldheim only has access to a small portion in comparison. And also, getting a creature off the top for free into play is a lot more powerful than getting it into your hand. Another legendary tribal commander out there is yet another mono green one with Reki, the History of Kamigawa. Reki has, whenever you play a legendary spell, draw a card. Now, Reki can give you a lot of card advantage, but the major differences are pretty apparent. Perhaps the most comparable one, then, is another 5-color commander with Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. Sisay is a 2/2 human soldier for 2 and a white, and she gets +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. By paying Wooburg, you can search your library for a legendary permanent card with converted mana cost less than Sisay's power, put that card into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So a Sisay deck is probably going to focus on legendary permanents with a converted mana cost of 6 or less. So with Sisay, you can get out things other than just legendary creatures, but again, you do have to pay for it, and that is restricted based on her power. Whereas the Prismatic Bridge isn't tutoring, and it's going to get you either a Planeswalker or a creature into play for free. So again, it might be a little more random, but it's free. Now, I do think that Esika / the Prismatic Bridge are a little more flexible and can do more work for you, so I think it's going to be a lot more popular than Sisay. And with that flexibility, there's a wide variety of decks that you can build around this new commander. And in this episode, I'm just going to be going through some cards and things to consider. So I think the main draw to this commander is getting things off the top of your library for free. So when it comes to sides of this commander, I think players are going to focus a lot more heavily on that Prismatic Bridge side. Let's read that again really quick just as a reminder. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is an upkeep trigger and it gets you either a creature or a planeswalker. And yes, those creatures don't have to be legendary, but again, I think most people are probably going to build in that legendary mindset. Regardless, however you build it, some cards that you want to consider are ones that give you extra upkeeps. So big thanks to Eddie for sending these over. Ones like Paradox Haze and Sphinx of the Second Sun are ones that you want to consider. Paradox Haze is an aura. It says enchant player at the beginning of enchanted player's first upkeep each turn. That player gets an additional upkeep step after this step. So now we get 2 things off the top for free instead of 1. And then Sphinx of the Second Sun is a somewhat new card from Commander Legends, and it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you get an additional beginning phase after this phase. And the beginning phase includes the untap, upkeep, and draw steps. So yeah, another upkeep on top of other things. And though it's not legendary, Sphinx is obviously a fantastic card to hit off the top. But now let's go over some creatures that are legendary that can really help us out with this type of a deck. First up, let's talk about Arvad the Curse, just a 3/3 with Death Touch and Lifelink, but oh yeah, other legendary creatures we control get +2/+2. And then Kethis the Hidden Hand makes our legendary spells we cast cost 1 less to cast. On top of that, we can exile 2 legendary cards from our graveyard, and until end of turn, each legendary card in our graveyard gains. You may play this card from your graveyard. So this makes our spells cheaper, as well as letting us cast things out of our graveyard. And we also have Yomiji, who bars the way, who has, whenever a legendary permanent other than Yomiji is put into a graveyard from play, return that card to its owner's hand. So this can make our things even harder to deal with, and our legendary creatures can keep coming back. We've also got some cards that can help us out in different ways, like Atlaplani Nest Tender, Elsha the Infinite, and Hua Tao. Atlaplani can make eggs, and whenever those eggs die, we can get other things off the top of our library for free. Elsha the Infinite lets us look at the top card of our library at any time, and we can cast the top card of our library if it's a non-creature, non-land card, and we can cast it as though it had flash. So Elsha can help us know what's coming and also let us play certain things off the top. Speaking of knowing what's coming, Hua Tao has tap, put target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, activate this ability only during your turn before attackers are declared. So we can take a creature from our graveyard, put it on top, and then get it in for free with Prismatic Bridge. But next up, let's talk about some legendary creatures that can provide us some legendary value. First up is one of my personal favorites, and actually the commander from the very first episode of this channel, with Nezahal Primal Tide. Nezahal does a lot of things, so here we go. This spell can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card. Discard 3 cards, exile Nezahal, return to the battlefield, tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So like I said, does a lot for us. Nezahal gives us no maximum hand size and lets us draw an absurd amount of cards in a game of Commander. On top of that, Nezahal is nearly impossible to kill with the number of cards that we're going to be drawing. And if you're looking to lose friends, you can always include some value commanders like the Praetors in your deck as well. Vorinclex is perhaps the most brutal of them, doubling up your mana and essentially having your opponents. Well, not really having it, but making it so their lands don't untap. But again, be cautious when you add the Praetors to your deck, because you just might lose some friends. And of course, what legendary creature deck would be complete without some heavy hitters? And like Vorinclex, this heavy hitter is pretty expensive and pretty brutal with Avacyn, Angel of Hope. An 8/8 with Flying, Vigilance, and Indestructible, and oh yeah, your other permanents you control have Indestructible too. So she hits hard, is incredibly hard to deal with, and makes all of your other things incredibly hard to deal with too. And speaking of hard to deal with, you can also put in Progenitus, which has protection from everything. And if you've got the budget for it and you want to annihilate your opponents, consider the Eldrazi Titans like Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. An Indestructible at 10/10 and Annihilator 4 is a pretty big thing. Now, I did mention that there are a ton of different directions that you can take this deck, and I think this next one is pretty sneaky. So yes, you can fill your deck with lots of legendary creatures and planeswalkers that are very powerful, or you can just fill it with one singular creature. And that would be Timestream Navigator. Timestream Navigator is a 1/1 human pirate wizard with Ascend, and it costs 1 in a blue. She has pay 2 blue, tap, put Time Stream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library, take an extra turn after this one, activates ability only if you have the city's blessing. So your Prismatic Bridge can get Time Stream Navigator out, and when you activate her, you get an extra turn, and she goes back on the bottom of your library, so your Prismatic Bridge can get it back. Now, of course, you're not going to want to wait around to activate this, so you're also going to have, things like Fervor and Fires of Yavimaya and Hammer of Perforos and anything else that just basically gives your creatures haste. So yeah, definitely a different direction, but could be a very powerful one as well. But now this episode is coming to a close, and it's time for me to talk about my gut feeling on this card, which I kind of actually already mentioned way earlier, but if you forgot what I said, my guess is that this is going to be the most popular commander in the set, and I don't think it's going to be close. Again, that's probably way too early to call. Again, this is day 2 of official spoiler season, and there's still like a week and a half left or something, but this one just seems like it has the makings for the most popular commander out of the set, but I could be wrong. And I very well might be eating my words in the upcoming days when something bigger and shinier gets spoiled. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.